Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Bob's Woodshop. This week I'm working on a giant monkey wrench. I believe this was from the railroad company. Here I'm making a little tub in order to make a bath for the wrench. Just making this out of oak. Just a quickie little project. I didn't have another container that was big enough. So then I put a big contractor's trash bag into it. And then the monkey wrench goes into there. So from here, I'm just pouring in some regular vinegar, white vinegar, and I let that soak for a couple days. This is pretty effective, but not totally effective to removing the rust. All this really does is get a lot of the loose stuff off. I still have to do quite a bit of wire wheeling. Here I'm knocking off some of the bigger chunks in order to let the vinegar soak in a little bit deeper. So really after a couple days I still had some real crusty rust, and I'm using one of my old chisels that I use for this type of work. I've got two sets. This is my rough set, and then I also have a nice set for my woodworking projects. So from there I take it over the grinder and do some wire wheeling of the project. I didn't capture it all on tape, but I did have to heat up the wrench in order to get this thing moving. There was a combination of rust and some type of epoxy on the wrench, and I actually needed to heat it up with a propane torch. That was the only thing that was really going to get the threads loose. While doing this, I'm typically wearing gloves and also my eye and face protection. So once I get that all cleaned up, I'm starting here on the scales, the handles on both sides, and I'm just using a piece of red oak here. The old handles were obviously very nasty and beat up. So this is the first one, and I already trimmed some of that up on the bandsaw, and now I'm trying to match the profile exactly. So this took several test fits. There was a little incline that needed to be sanded off both ends of those pieces of wood. So here's the second scale, and I'm using this one that I just got to the exact size as a pattern for the second scale. This part of the process was very easy, very basic woodworking. From there, I drilled a couple holes in order to prepare for the filing and sanding and rasping that I need to do. So I'm just putting this on the end of the workbench and starting the rough profiling with my Shinto rasp. I love this rasp. It has both a very coarse and a fine set of teeth, one on each side. So this process only took maybe 20 minutes for both of them. I wasn't really working on the other side of the workbench, so I got both clamps on it on the left end of my workbench. So you can see how quickly the Shinto rasp profiles these scales. It was a little bit loose, so I had to tighten it up a little. So this certainly is a giant wrench. This is not for watch repair or fixing children's toys, obviously. Not really quite sure what I'm going to do with this thing either. I'll probably just put it up on my display board along with some of the weapons projects that I made. Regular viewers will know what I'm talking about. So here, after the rasping, I'm just using my Festool sander in order to do the final profiling of the oak. And this really gives it a nice look. If you remember, the wrench was extremely brown, rusted, nasty, and now it's looking really good, and this is just giving it a really nice touch. I just used a couple stove bolts in here, and I'm just cutting them to length. The original fasteners here were a couple of rivets, but I didn't have access to those, and I couldn't put the old ones back in. Now I'm going to do a little bit more sanding on my belt sander just to get some of the pitting off of the wrench. So that smooths it up pretty good. And then as the final step, I'm going to use my old standby boiled linseed oil to put onto the handle. And boiled linseed oil is the perfect finish for handles and workbench tops. You see that really gives it a nice shine. I'm putting a little bit on for a rust preservative on the rest of the wrench. Not bad, huh? So that was the original starting point. You can see some of the epoxy on there right above the threads, and here's the new version. I think it came out great. What do you think? Looks pretty good, huh? Again, old, new. So hey, you guys know the drill. You've been here before, and if you haven't been, by the way, welcome. And please give my channel a like, a comment, and hopefully subscribe. And tell your friends. I'm doing lots of different types of projects. I'm primarily a wood turner, but I'm doing these types of things as well. So until next time, have fun in your shop and stay safe in your shop. Bye bye.